What is up, everybody? Welcome to the MMA Engine. Welcome to the main event deep dive for UFC Vegas 55. We have Holm going against Ketlen Vieira. Should be an interesting fight. I'm here as always with Weezy. Weezy, how you doing? You looking forward to this main event?
Looking forward to the week off just a little bit more, but just watch tape on both of these ladies for like the last 3 hours, and it's not a bad main event, man. It's two really good fighters, two really well-rounded fighters. One out of Nova União, one training with Greg Jackson. It's going to be a quality main event, and like I say, both of these ladies are really high level, so let's find some ways to make some money on this fight, because that's always the best main events, the ones we crush, the ones we make money on. So if we can find some spots here, it's going to make this main event even better than it already is.
Sounds good. Not sure if I'll be better in the main event, but there is one spot that kind of sticks out. We'll talk about it. Let's shout out the chat before we get started. Lou Betcha in the chat. He's saying, I don't know if this is true. If it's true, that's awesome. Billy Q versus Bill Algeo, July 16th. That's a good fight. Like they're the same exact fighter, so that's going to be fun. Shout out to Lou Betcha, War Dog, Raw Torque, and Jeff hanging out. If you guys can hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're at 810 subs, getting really close to 1,000, 190 away. Hopefully get that in the near future. So if you're not subscribed and you do enjoy the content, make sure you are subscribed. Lots of content coming your guys' way throughout the week. So, yeah, Weezy, I say we get into the main event. We'll start at the tail of the tape. As always, we have Holm, who is 40 years old, a 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Ketlen Vieira, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 68-inch reach. It's going to be Vieira that is going to be 10 years younger. And it's going to be Holm, who's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Holm is 3-2 in her last 5 fights, a decision loss against Chris Cyborg, a decision win against Megan Anderson, a knockout loss to Amanda Nunes, a decision win against Raquel Pennington, and then a decision win against Irene Aldana. As far as Ketlen Vieira, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights as well. Had a decision win against Kat Zingano, a knockout loss against Irene Aldana, a decision win against Ciara Eubanks, a decision loss to Yana Kanutsakaya, and then just recently a 5-round decision win against Miesha Tate. So, yeah, we have not seen Holm in 1 year and 7 months. It has been a while. Haven't really found out why she hasn't been fighting, whether it's an injury or what's going on. But, yeah, it's been a while since we have seen Holm. And then Ketlen Vieira did fight, I believe, like 5 months ago. So, yeah, it should be a fun one here, Weezy. Let's take a look at the experience.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. And Holm has pulled out of 2 fights. I'm not sure. I'm looking on Tapology right now just to make sure that it was her that pulled out of them. So it was the Juliana Pena fight on May 8th. That was with a Holm injury. Don't know what the injury was. And then the Dumont fight, she pulled out with a knee injury. And that was in October of 2021. So here we are 7 months later. Don't know how serious the knee injury was. Don't know if it was an ACL or what, but here we are. Experience numbers. It's Holm who has 5 more professional fights, but she also has about 130 more minutes in the pro cage, and it looks like about 3.5 more years as a pro. So quite a bit of experience advantage here for Holm, and her average fight time is even about 4 minutes longer than Ketlen Vieira's. And at the UFC level, it's the same thing, Brady. 4 more UFC fights, almost twice as much time in the UFC cage, about 90 more minutes in there for Holm. And average fight time is over 15 minutes for Holm. 17.07 minutes average fight time. And for Vieira, it's 14.26. So, and then when we look at the finish stats, Holm has never submitted any of her opponents, and of her 14 wins, 8 of them are inside the distance by knockout, and it's 2 of her 7 UFC wins that are inside the distance by knockout. Holly has been finished in 2 of her 5 losses, once by submission, once by knockout, the other 3 times by decision. Ketlen Vieira, 50% finish rate as a pro in her 12 wins. And in her 6 UFC wins, she's only finished 1 of them inside the distance. So definitely both of these ladies, when they win fights, 13 combined UFC wins for these 2 ladies, only 3 of them inside the distance, less than 25%. And Ketlen has been finished in 1 of her 2 losses. She got knocked out cold pretty much by Irene Aldana, and then the other loss was a decision loss to Yana Kunitskaya. So, yeah, definitely a big experience advantage here for Holm. 4 more UFC fights, 5 more fights as a whole, 1 inch of reach. She's a southpaw, but it's the 10 years younger for Lorenzo Lamas here that we really got to look at and understand that if we are betting on Holm, we're betting on a 40-year-old fighter that's going on 41 here in a couple of months. So, yeah, it's there are the obvious advantages here for Holm in the experience and even in the finish stats.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's just the one thing that sticks out to me in the entire fight, is just the age. Like if this was a couple of years ago, if Holm was not coming off of a big layoff here, the injury concerns as well, I'd be all over Holm. It's just, I'm kind of like, like, I don't know, what if she shows up and she does not look like herself? Like, I don't know. That's a long time to be off from a fighter like Holly Holm, who's like 40 years old. Like we see young fighters do it and yeah, it can work out. Like, is she going to go out there and make improvements over a year and 7 months off? I don't really think so. I'm taking a look at her Instagram. I see, she's been at the beach. She's doing some skating, riding bulls.
Riding
Nothing
bulls? Mechanical bulls or real bulls?
Looks like a real bull.
My
Like,
God.
nothing about any injuries for Holly Holm. Just looks like she's out there living her life. She's in a hot tub with a bunch of people. So yeah, not really. Maybe I'll listen to an interview, but yeah, she's skating. Yeah, a lot going on there, but yeah, nothing
Where
about
are you
an injury.
In Albuquerque, New Mexico. I mean, it's like hot down there. Where are you skating? It must be indoors.
Indoor.
All right. That's
like roller,
good.
yeah.
I'm getting confused otherwise, but yeah, she's 40 years old. We got to keep that in mind because when we talk about the rest of this fight, Brady, I mean, I'm going to just let the cat out of the bag that I think Holly Holm is so good. I mean, everywhere. And she really seems to choose where her opponents are most weak and fight a really smart game plan. So I've got to view all this information that we're about to be giving our audience here through the lens that we're betting on a 40-year-old fighter that hasn't fought in over a year and a half.
Yeah, I feel like breaking the fight down a couple of years ago, we were all like, yeah, she's like 39, she's 40. And then she went out there against Aldana and just had the best performance of her life. Like I was just sitting there, my jaw was dropped for 25 minutes straight. Like on the line, like you said earlier, it was competitive. She was like minus 120. She looked like minus 500 in that fight against Aldana. It was crazy from start to finish. Like she looked the best she ever had. She looked in the best shape she's ever been. She was mixing in takedowns. Her strikes were looking good. She was looking fast, quick. Holly Holm put on a performance of a lifetime against Irene Aldana. If that same Holly Holm shows up, you got to believe she's kind of running through Vieira here in 5 rounds.
Absolutely. And, we know that Holly Holm has fought fantastic competition, but let's look at the striking numbers here. We got Holm landing 0.36 more significant strikes per minute than she absorbs. She lands 3.16, absorbs 2.8. 38% striking accuracy. She has 2 knockdowns in 12 fights. So that's pretty good, actually, for the bantamweight division. 0.31% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed and 0.15 knockdowns per 15 minutes. And she has been knocked down, it looks like, once in 12 fights. So only 0.07 knockdowns allowed per 15 minutes and 58% striking defense. She's absorbing less than 3 significant strikes per minute, and her opponents are throwing about 1.7 significant strike attempts less than what Holly Holm is throwing. So Holly's got she's definitely got the volume advantage here, and she's got the power advantage. And, when you just watch her strike, she moves so well on her feet. She's definitely a very hard target to hit. Ketlen is absorbing 1 more significant strike per minute than she's landing. And her opponents are throwing almost 1 more significant strike attempt per minute than she's throwing. So 38%. So the striking accuracy is right there with Holly Holm. And the striking defense just a notch below Holly Holm at 54.2%. It looks like Ketlen has been knocked down only once in 8 fights. So 0.13 knockdowns allowed per 15 minutes. So, Ketlen looked good in the striking, Brady, against her last opponent, Miesha Tate. She really maintained the distance well. And we were talking about how Pederneiras, her coach over at Nova União, told her, we don't want you wrestling here. This is a 5-round fight. We want you to box because you have the advantage there. And after Ketlen attempted a takedown in the first round, we saw her just stay with her boxing. We saw her listen to her corner and use that reach advantage and size advantage that she had over Miesha Tate. and she looked really good over 5 rounds there. It was a close fight. I mean, you could have given Tate a round or two, in my opinion, but there were some of these rounds that were definitely close. But Ketlen cruised there and looked really good. But this is a different level of striking that she's going to be seeing against Holly Holm here in the cage. So I think it's going to be a little bit different on the feet this time around for Ketlen.
Yeah, I just don't really see it being much competitive on the feet, honestly. Yeah, but you take a look at her last fight. Yeah, against Tate, she does get outlanded on the numbers, but I did score the fight for Vieira. First time around, went back and watched it, did score for second time around as well. Looks like all three judges, yeah, 48-47, 48-47, and a 49-46. But yeah, like you said, it was competitive, but still, she was clearly winning the striking exchanges. I think where Vera is going to have success, and this is what makes the fight kind of tricky, is going to be getting the fight down to the mat. And like, this is a 5-round fight, and is she going to be able to have the gas tank do that for 5 rounds? It's where I'm kind of like, no, I don't really think so. So in terms of the takedown stats, I'm kind of curious to see your thoughts on this one.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing about the takedown stats here is that Ketlen's fights have been a lot more grappling centric than Holly's fights have been thus far. Ketlen getting her takedowns at a really good clip, Brady. 46.43% takedown accuracy. She's 13 of 28 on her takedown attempts. So she's averaging 1.71 takedowns per 15 minutes, and she's averaging less than a half submission attempt per 15 minutes, and controlling her opponents 34.44% of her 114 minutes in the cage. So that's almost 40 minutes of control time on 13 takedowns. And Ketlen has shown 90% takedown defense thus far and has been controlled for 10% of her UFC career, which is about 11.4 minutes. So obviously on only 2 takedown attempts allowed, she spent some time being controlled on the fence as well as on the ground. And, and these control time stats, they include clinch control and ground control. Holly Holm is getting 19% control time in her own right and getting takedowns at over a 30% clip. So that's actually really good. 0.81 takedowns for 15 minutes and 0.07 submission attempts for 15 minutes. So when Holly's getting her opponents down, she's not really attacking for submission so much as she is maintaining position and winning minutes. And she's done a very good job of that, in particular in the Megan Anderson fight and the Irene Aldana fight. And Holly hasn't seen a lot of grappling heavy attacks on the aggregate here, as we see that she's had 12 fights, but has only faced 26 takedown attempts. So that's just over 2 takedown attempts per fight. But she shows 77% takedown defense and has only been controlled just a little bit more than 5% of her UFC career, which is, 204 minutes. So 5% of 204 is like 10.2 minutes. So on these 6 takedowns that she's yielded, she's only allowed it 10 minutes of control time in total. So if Ketlen does want to get this fight to the ground, and if that is her game plan, she's going to have to be very mindful about when she goes for the takedowns and what she tries to do with them, because Holly has stopped a good percentage of these takedowns, almost 77% over her 12-fight UFC career. She's yielding less than 6% control time against. And when you push that kind of a pace, Brady, especially in a 5-round fight against somebody like Holly Holm, who has shown fantastic, top-notch conditioning and has been in 5-round fights for pretty much her entire UFC career thus far, it's going to be very dangerous for Ketlen to try to wrestle a lot here, because if she's not successful with it, if she doesn't win minutes with it, she's going to gas out far before Holly Holm will. And then those striking exchanges in the later half of the fight are going to be very difficult for Ketlen to manage. Oh, you're muted, brother.
Oops, that's how you know we need a week off. But no, I was just saying, you take a look at Holly Holm, like she has not faced, like you said, a ton of takedowns, especially as of late. Like the last time somebody got her down more than once was all the way back in 2016 against one Valentina Shevchenko. And then the only other time somebody got her down more than once was against Miesha Tate back in 2016 as well. So, since then, she's only got taken down once. That was by Raquel Pennington, and she did get backed up, shortly after. So yeah, Vieira's definitely going to come in here. You got to imagine, like, what is Vieira's game plan? Is she going to come out here and try to outstrike Holly Holm for 25 minutes? I don't think so. I think she's going to try to get it down to the mat, and it could work, but it also could be to her detriment as well. So I really don't like this fight for Ketlen Vieira at all. I feel like Holly Holm's going to have the advantage on the feet, and I feel like Vieira could get her down, but I feel like Holly Holm's takedown defense is good enough to keep it standing for the most part. If she gets taken down, get back up, make Vieira work, and we've seen Vieira slow down in 3-round fights. So yeah, man, I just don't really like this matchup for Vieira, but Holly Holm, this is what we're laying minus 225 on women's MMA, first of all, on a 40-year-old fighter that has not fought in 1 year and 7 months. It's the only thing that is scaring me away. But when you look at the matchup, you got Holm with the striking, Holm with the conditioning, especially great takedown defense. And we'll talk about the competition. Like, everything checks out for Holly Holm. So it's just a weird matchup. But yeah, I'm liking Holly Holm so far.
I am definitely liking her as well. And I mean, if you just watch her fights, she, in all three aspects, in the distance striking, in the clinch on the fence, and on the ground, she's winning minutes in all three places, and she's choosing the best times to win minutes against the particular opponent that she's up against. If she's in the Megan Anderson fight, you saw Holly be a lot smaller than Megan. Megan was pressuring, maintaining the distance really well, and piecing up Holly in the striking. And she just said, you know what? Now we're going to the clinch. And then she got it into the clinch, and then she was using her clinch position, always getting if the underhook was on the left side, the head was under the left side of the chin, and the same thing if the underhook was on the right side. Always the really good head position along with the underhook. She keeps her opponents there. She throws more strikes. She's just winning minutes in all aspects of the fight and choosing the easiest place for her to win minutes. And then, man, you look at the strength of schedule, and I'll tell you something, Brady. When gambling became legal in Illinois, one of the first big bets I ever made was on Holly Holm against Irene Aldana, which shows you that it's been legal for less than 2 years here. And I got her at like minus 125. And I just remember that was the reason I started keeping the strength of schedule stat that we see there on the right side of the page, is because I remember Irene Aldana, being like almost a pick'em. And I'm thinking to myself, the girls that Holly's beating would beat Irene Aldana, and the girls that Holly's losing to would destroy Irene Aldana, And then we look at it here. You look at Holly Holm, a 2.32 ratio overall. The average record of one of her opponents is 7.17 wins, 3.08 losses, 10.25 total fights. And we see Ketlen in her competition thus far in the UFC, it's barely over 500 fighters with 4 wins and 3.5 losses, a 1.14 win to loss ratio. And then you look at the wins, and Holly's winning competition here with a 1.88 win to loss ratio and over 10 total UFC fights, 6.71 wins, 3.57 losses. And Ketlen's basically losing the same type of competition that she's beating. So, yeah, 1.14 ratio in her wins and losses. And you see her kind of trading wins with Kat Zingano, a loss to Irene Aldana, a win against Sijara Eubanks, a loss against Kunitskaya, and then a win against Miesha Tate. While you see Holly Holm, if you go to the advanced stats, you see the losses to Holly Holm against Amanda Nunes, 14-2, against Chris Cyborg, 6-1. Jermaine Durandamy, 7-2, Valentina Shevchenko, 11-2, and Miesha Tate, 6-5. The only ladies who have beaten Holly Holm were champions, period. And 2 of them were at 145 pounds. So, that's hard, when you're fighting up a weight class from your natural weight class, and that's where 2 of your losses are. And then 2 of the other 3 losses are 2 of the greatest mixed martial artists to ever live in Valentina Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes. That's where you're losing to at 135. And in Ketlen Vieira, you're getting a 4-3 fighter. Or I'm sorry, no, that's not right. You're getting a 6-2 fighter here. But the wins are against competition that's barely winning here. So Holly Holm is by far the better striker. I think she'll be better in the clinch. She's fought and beaten the much better brand of competition. She's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage here and be the southpaw that's had 5 more professional fights, 4 more UFC fights, and the better conditioning too. So Ketlen is going to have to figure out ways to get her grappling involved and to win minutes there and do it consistently over a 25-minute fight. And it just seems like a really tall order, Brady.
It really does. It really does. Let's take a look at the line and see where it is at. So Holly Holm opened up a minus 210 favorite. She's now minus 225. And then Ketlen Vieira opened up plus 180. She's currently plus 190. Yeah, I mean, I can't argue that too much. Like, we talked through it a little bit. And like you said, Holm is going to be the much better striker. She's going to have the much better conditioning, which is huge in a 5-round fight. She's the more experienced fighter, and she's fought the better competition by a mile. So, yeah, I can't argue that line. Is any thoughts you have on the line, Weezy?
Yeah, I think Holly Holm is parlayable. Unfortunately, this week there aren't a lot of lines I like to parlay her with. There's not a lot of favorites that I'm really high on this week. And I mean, like Jailton Almeida is sitting around minus 700 on a lot of books, so I wouldn't even parlay that. So after I looked at this, I said, oh man, I'd love to find something to parlay with Holly Holm here to get it to close to even money, but I'm having a hard time doing that. So I'm actually thinking of just laying the 2.25 units to win one. I'm that confident that it's going to be really difficult for Ketlen Vieira to win minutes in this fight. But God, what do we talk about? Don't bet on 40-year-old fighters. Women's MMA, don't lay juice in women's MMA. It's like I'm breaking so many of my own rules to do this that I don't know, man. It's hard. It's a hard one. I love Holly Holm in this spot. I want to bet Holly Holm in this spot. I just can't find a valuable way to do it.
Yeah, and like you said, there's like nothing in terms of money line that I'd parlay. Like, I'm not gonna go out there and parlay. I don't know, like I'm not gonna parlay Chung Park. I'm not gonna parlay Almeida. I'm not gonna parlay, I don't know, Jonathan Martinez. There's nothing.
Cheaty,
Cheaty,
maybe.
maybe.
I mean, but still, even then, Dusko's a tough kid. Yeah, it's hard, man. And I mean, are you parlaying Joseph Holmes, the guy with like 7
Oh
fights?
yeah.
Because you say you don't fade a bad fighter in Amadovsky with another bad fighter, and we don't know enough about Holmes yet. So, but I am confident about Holm, not Holmes, Holm.
Yeah, one's a bum and one's not, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Holly Holm is the opposite of a bum. She's
Really
such a good fighter. And I mean, when I say fighter, I mean she just doesn't have to win it in one way. She can beat you in the clinch. She can beat you on the ground. She can beat you standing. And her conditioning is always good. And she's always bringing a really smart game plan. It's just a really hard fight to win. And we know the only ladies that have beaten her have been champions thus far.
Yeah, and I don't see Vieira being a champion, honestly. I mean, she's 30 years old, but I don't see it. Unless I don't
Well,
see
if she wins this fight and does it impressively, then maybe she's got what it takes.
to
I mean,
compete.
when I used to watch Renegades starring Lorenzo Lamas, I never doubted Renegade's ability to be able to get the job done by the end of the episode. And, if she finds a way to get this job done here, like Lorenzo Lamas did on the show Renegade, it's going to be a big eye opener for everybody. And I'll be eating my words personally. But, this is a great opportunity for Ketlen Vieira to take that next step. And she's 30 years old. She's got a lot of her career still in front of her here. So this is the kind of test that if Ketlen wants to take that next step, this has got to be her signature performance here.
Yeah, and same with Holly Holm. Like, this is her like last run. Like, if she loses this fight, she's probably never ever going to get a title shot again. If she wins it, she's right there.
Yeah, she's right there, and if she does win it in similar performance fashion as she just beat Aldana, I think that's going to also, if Holly feels like she's got one more title run in her, she better get it done on Saturday. So, and I do think that she's got all the tools to do exactly that.
Yeah, me too. Let's see what the chat is saying, and also, how are you guys betting this fight? Are there any props that are sticking out for you guys? And then also, you got Holly Holm or you have Ketlen Vieira. And let's see what we got here. Tony, what is up, Tony? How you doing? Effie saying, hate putting money in regressing fighters, but man, unless Holly comes out really bad, how does she lose exactly? That's kind of how I'm feeling. And we don't know. We don't know if she's regressed or not over the last year and 7 months. We'll find out. But if she shows up looking anything like she did against Aldana, I do favor her quite a lot here. Yeah, Holly always comes in great shape. Yeah, she is always in great shape. John
Amazing
Jones
shape.
saying, hey, what is up, John Jones at the GOAT? What's up, Rick? How you doing? I mean, Asphalt, Brady, and Uncle Weezy with the deep dive. God damn, my Monday can't get any better. There we go. Thank you for hanging out, MMA Asphalt. Raw Torque saying, don't do it, Weezy. Save it for the next card.
Yeah,
PSSA saying, parlay Parker Porter.
Yeah, that's not, I mean, like, that's really good alliteration. Parlay Parker Porter, 3 Ps in a row. But other than that, that's something you just don't do this week. But however, I might be betting Parker Porter here because this line is just getting blown out. Parker Porter by decision, you guys, plus 1,400. Jailton has gotten a little bit sloppy in spots. And once you get that gigantic ass on top of you, I'm not sure if there's a man alive that could actually get it off of him. And Parker could win minutes on the ground if Jailton gets a little bit sloppy or, sells out for a submission that he doesn't have 100%. So we'll see. It's going to be a great fight. And I am a huge fan of Jailton Almeida. Can't wait to see more of this guy.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that freaking weird fight. What a weird fight that is. But let's take a look at some of the other props here. So we have the over-under. Looks like it is set at 4.5 rounds. The over 4.5 minus 250. Under 4.5 plus 200. The fight goes to decision is minus 230. And the fight doesn't go to decision is plus 185. Any thoughts on that?
Okay, so let me put it into the okay, yeah, so minus 230 for the fight goes and plus 170 for the fight doesn't go, right?
Say that again?
You said minus 230 for the fight goes?
Yep.
Okay, then plus 170 for the fight doesn't go. So
plus 185 now.
Oh, plus 185. Okay, let me put that in there. So at those lines, it looks like there's just a little more value on the fight goes as opposed to on the fight doesn't go as opposed to the fight goes based on the divisional finish rate of 35.62%. However, and you know what? I brought up the wrong stats. I brought up the strawweight stats instead of the bantamweight stats. So I'm going to give you guys just a quick look here at what the bantamweight finish rate was in 5-round fights here. So what else is going on in the chat right now, Brady? Anybody else got anything in there to say?
Yeah, so Adusco, Holly Holm, and Michelle fight doesn't go to decision saying Rob. War Dog saying I'll be avoiding this matchup on DK unless one provides salary relief. You guys heard the salaries got released. I did see that they have Almeida at 9,400. I'm not sure. I think
wow.
They put what?
I said, oh wow. I mean, that's not that expensive for
somebody who's
expecting
like 96.
Yeah.
And then Holm is 9,100, and then Vieira is 7,100 there. So
okay. So I've got these sorted here, man. We've got 22 fights that have been at least 135 or maybe 140 in the history of the UFC 5-round fights. And when we sort them, we are going to see how many finished inside the distance. And it is 16 of 22. Wow. So, yeah, that is over 70% finish rate in 5-round women's bantamweight fights. So we want to keep that number in mind because when we're getting the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 185, that's a 35% implied probability. But we just saw that 70% of 5-round bantamweight fights are finishing inside the distance. And then if we look at Holly Holm and if we look at Holm and Vieira's combined statistics, 3 of 13 wins inside the distance, 3 of 7 losses inside the distance. So only 30% of their fights have finished inside the distance. And we know that Holm has been 5 rounds a number of times. So she's not a finisher so much, and she's not getting finished. And we've only seen Ketlen Vieira get 1 finish thus far in the UFC. So the time props, Brady, I'm not loving them simply because if you bet that fight goes at minus 230, you're saying that there's a 70% chance that the fight goes all 5 rounds. But what I'm telling you is that only 30% of 5 round bantamweight fights that are 5 rounds go that distance. So it's like you're overpaying 40%. So it looks like it could be a cheeky fight doesn't go to decision at plus 185 bet, because that's a 35% implied probability. But we know that over a decent sample size of over 20 5 round female bantamweight fights that they're finishing inside the distance 16 out of 22 times. So that's over 70%. I would probably do the fight doesn't go and take the plus money rather than sweat out 5 rounds, seeing as Irene Aldana knocked out Ketlen Vieira and Holm destroyed Irene Aldana. So a little bit of MMA math there for you guys. Another reason to like Holm.
Yeah, I'm probably staying away from the time prop. I think it goes to decision, but laying minus 230 is concerning, especially hearing those numbers. That's nuts. It's over 70% of bantamweight fights. And that's why we love the prop type, Weezy.
Yeah, that's it's just more information that allows us to be able to make these good decisions, with our money. Know when we're overpaying, and in this case, when you have that number and you say, I'm laying minus 230 that this goes the full 5 rounds. We don't get rich laying minus 230 unless we're getting that right 80% of the time. And you don't want to fly in the face of a 70% benchmark when you're saying, that this thing is, a 30% benchmark and you're paying 70%. You're overpaying 40% based on the finish rates of 5 round fights. If you're betting that fight goes to decision at minus 230, I don't get in the way of benchmarks like that.
Yeah, unless you're like really, 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 really confident, and I'm not. I'm not confident, so I won't be getting it in the way there. Let's take a look at some other props here. We have Holm inside the distance plus 315, Vieira inside the distance plus 500, Holm by decision minus 125, Vieira by decision plus 335. Also curious to see what they're going to put out the 4-5 decision at as well. But I'll be honest, Weezy, nothing's really sticking out from any prop. Any props sticking out to you?
So it's minus 125 for Holm decision, but there's 3 books right now that are plus 100. Maybe if I can get plus money on it, it's something I'll bet. But what I'll probably do is trying to find either an under 2.5 or a fight doesn't go or an over 1.5, something that I can parlay the Holm money line with, so I don't have to lay 2.25 units to win one, so that I can lay 1 unit to win one. And that's kind of like how I'm looking to play this. And then the fight doesn't go to decision could be an interesting bet.
Yeah, Nick's saying that he parlayed Holly with Njokuani minus 190 there for Njokuani and minus 210 for Holly. And then he also parlayed Holly with Jonathan Martinez. And then PSSA saying parlay Holm with Medic under 2.5. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ones. Like you could parlay with the Holmes Amidovsky fight doesn't go. It's sitting at minus 230 on Bet Online, but you can't parlay props on Bet Online. And everywhere else, it's like minus 260. I don't know. I like calling Holm too, but just finding a parlay piece is going to be the tough part.
It is. And, that's the other thing too. Parlays are things that we just generally try to stay away from. And if something isn't, presenting itself as big time value that we like, that not only the numbers flesh it out, but the tape study that we've done also tells the same story. That's when we can really be confident about our bets. But the bookies don't like making it easy on us, dude. They just hate doing that.
Yeah. Prince, you're joking, right? GM3 Bruno Silva, did they want to kill him? My goodness.
Dude, remember, Bruno Silva's been submitted in 5 or 7
awesome.
losses. And I mean, if there's one guy that needs maybe 10 seconds to lock up a submission, it's GM3. So, that would be a very interesting stylistic matchup. But I'd rather see Bruno Silva just in there standing and banging like the Pereira fight. That was a classic.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good violence prop. Wonder when that fight's going to be. Some violence.
Yeah. And look at Papa Chuck saying parlay Holm with the Ricci Viana over 2.5. Look, I wouldn't do that, Papa Chuck, because Viana has finished 100% of her 12 wins inside the distance. She's a great finisher, and Ricci's finished 50%. So 17 of these ladies' 23 combined professional fights have finished inside the distance. That's 73%. And for the fight goes to decision, it's minus 175. That's 63%. It's too much. You're overpaying based on the prop template by 37.5% based on that. And then even on the UFC lines, because 5 of their 8 combined fights have finished inside the distance, 3 of 8 have went to decision. That's 37.5%. You're overpaying based on the implied probability of the line by 26.1%. Very dangerous fight to bet over. The tape study that I've done leads me to believe that this fight will go the full 3 rounds, but the numbers make me say you got to give me way better than minus 175 to bet it.
Yeah, this card in general, man, like I thought last week was sketchy, but this week, I don't know, just lots of fights I just don't want to put my money on. Like, do you really want to put your money on Alan Amedovski, Joseph Holmes, like fights like that? Like, not really. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, if they mess up the fight doesn't go line, then yeah, hammer it. But I mean, if you're like being like, oh, my bet of the week is Joe Holmes or Amedovski, I mean, man, you're flipping a coin, baby. I'm telling you.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but yeah, I think we both like Holly Holm. We like her a lot. Just wish we could have got her at that opener. It looks like on FanDuel it opened minus 210. DraftKings open at minus 200, so it hasn't moved a ton. So we'll see.
Yeah, because it's a main event, you got a pretty good market there, and you've got fighters where you know what they're gonna bring. But Holly Holm is 40 years old, and laying minus 225 on a 40-year-old woman is terrifying, even though all the tape studies suggest that she should win this fight.
Yep, I agree. So yeah, Weezy, we did it. We broke it down. It's gonna be hard to give out a usually we give out our favorite bet of the main event, but I'll be honest, nothing's sticking out. I'll just say probably just a Holly Holm money line, but even then I'm like not in love with it. So yeah, I like Holly Holm. We talked about it. I think she's gonna be a better striker. I think she's gonna have the better cardio. I think that's huge. Level of competition is huge as well. The only thing I don't like is that age, the layoff, but everything else to me checks out. The tape checks out, the numbers check out. It's just the layoff and the age is the one thing that concerns me. But you don't win fights or lose fights just based off your age, right? So, I mean, how concerned really should I be unless Holly Holm does come in here and just look like a complete shell of herself? And maybe it happens, but if she comes back looking anything like she did against Aldana, I think it's a really good spot for her. So give me Holly Holm, money line. I don't think I'll be playing in this fight, but that's probably my favorite bet if I was to force to bet something. Weezy, what's your favorite bet for this fight? And then final prediction.
Yeah, I'll be looking at Holly Holm 4-5 decision. Hopefully try to get it better than like minus 130. That's something I'm going to be looking for on FanDuel. And I think the fight doesn't go to decision. If you can get it better than plus 150 or something, is actually going to be not bad. Or I'm sorry, I'm looking at Viana Ricci. Fight doesn't go to decision at plus 185. Even better if you can get it to plus 200. I think that's going to be a cheeky look because Holly Holm does have knockout power. And Vieira might gas out if she figures that the only way for her to win minutes in this fight is to sell out for the grappling. And she could even get a submission against Holly Holm if she is successful getting this fight to the ground and getting her back. So, yeah, fight doesn't go could be a very, very small bet for me, just a numbers play, so to speak. But Holm 4-5 decision is probably what I'm going to be looking to find value in to bet.
Yep. Sadly, we'll probably have to wait till Thursday or something to get those lines for this card. But yeah, I'm gonna be looking at that as well.
Absolutely, man.
All right, so we did it, guys. Thank you for hanging out. So we're gonna have a week off next week, and then we come back, and I believe we have Rosenstruck going against Volkov, so that should be a fun main event. And then after that, we have the main event for 275, that's the Yuri and Glover fight, right?
Yes, Yuri Glover. Oh man, Yuri Prochaska is so much fun. I can't wait for that fight. That's going to be such a good main event. So yeah, we just got to slog through this week, you guys, and it won't be as bad of a slog if we find some decent spots and cash, stack tickets stack cash tickets like flapjacks. That's how we make the good events, Brady. So yeah, let's tell everyone where they can find us.
Yep. So you going live tonight? Do anything balls deep?
Yeah, I am. I'll be right here on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, 10 o'clock Central Time. I'm looking at going with Ponzinibbio Pereira as the Balls Deep Breakdown, the co-main event. It probably is the second best or even the best fight on this card, actually. And you can find me tomorrow night on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I'll be doing just the tip, breaking down all 11 of these fights from a stats and tape study perspective. Finish with the greasy 4-leg parlay, which the one I gave out last week, plus 987 cashed. And we'll finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And Wednesday, I'll be doing the DFS show with you, Brady, on Pub Sports Radio. I'll also be doing Ask Weezy on my channel at 10:30 after the Club and Sub podcast. And on Thursday, right here on the MMA Engine channel, you can find Brady and I doing probability. If you missed last week's show, you missed out on some serious cash because 6 of 6 bets that we gave out on that show all hit, and the probability parlay hit. And we're looking to have a similar result this week. So make sure you join us on the MMA Engine channel for that show. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do that. And God bless each and every one of you guys. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 55.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Yeah, guys, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe here to the MMA Engine channel. Let's keep growing it. And then, yeah, of course, tune in Thursday, probability. Lots of totals that are going to be sticking out. Fight goes, fight doesn't go, all the good stuff. Can't wait to talk about it. And, yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck for UFC Vegas 55. Let's make some money, take the week off, and come back and make some more money. See you guys.